Almost 3 years ago to the day, San Francisco put up 41 points against the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs. Well, on Saturday night, Seattle returned the favor, putting up 41 against San Francisco and completely overwhelming the 49ers with special teams, a relentless rushing attack, and what might very well be the best defense in the NFL. Welcome to Josh's NFC West Breakdowns, where we let the film tell us what we're seeing. And what we saw Saturday night was a Seattle team completely prepared for this game starting from the very first play. And it was a short kickoff. We see the ball right here at the 5-yard line. Ordinarily, you want to kick this thing right at the goal line. Force that returner to bring it out, but make him go as long as possible. In fact, to be frank, I'm surprised they were even kicking to Shaheed at all after the year he had as a returner. And of course, it's a team effort. Take a look at this outstanding blocking by the Seattle Seahawks. I also want to point out the block of O'Connell here. Luke Gifford is unable to get off of that block. Chase Lucas had a shot. He had a shot but couldn't bring him down. Pinheiro tries to slide tackle. That's illegal. He'd be flagged for that. And Shaheed takes it all the way, 95 yards, touchdown Seahawks to open the game, and the place was going insane. Well, it's a 7-0 lead for the Seahawks, but San Francisco gets the ball, and they've got a reasonable drive going just past midfield, but here they're facing a key 4th down and 2. Too long for a quarterback sneak. I thought they might throw a pass here, but the 49ers bring in the tight ends and a fullback. They're going to run the football. And they hand it to Kyle Juszczyk, and it's easy to see the design of the play. It's the option play. Juszczyk can take this himself, and if the defense keys in on him, he has the option, if he wants to pitch it to Christian McCaffrey to finish out the play. Now, we see this a lot in college. Why don't we see this play more in the pros? Well, in the pros, these defenses are too good. They have sideline-to-sideline speed to string this play out and not let either player get up the field. And on this particular play, it's DeMarcus Lawrence who penetrates and forces the pitch from Juszczyk, where the rest of the cavalry can meet Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, and that play never had a chance. San Francisco had a dazzling pass offense this year, but the Seattle Seahawks made their bread and butter on the ground game, and here they go right to the run early and often. Seattle allows Sam Akiwanu to penetrate, where Cooper Kupp can pin him to the inside, allowing Zach Charbonnet to get to the outside. And this frees up Charles Cross to head downfield and get just enough of Eric Kendricks to prevent him from making the tackle on Zach Charbonnet. Just gets a hand on him, almost a clean whiff, but his presence alone was enough to force Eric Kendricks to go the long way around, and Charbonnet is able to pick up the first down. Seattle would gain enough yardage on the drive that eventually they would find themselves in position to attempt a field goal. And look, it's 4th and 3. They make the decision to kick, and I like the decision. How many times did the Bears eschew the field goal attempt, and boy, did they wish they had those points at the end of the game yesterday. Here, Mike McDonald takes the points. They extend their lead over the 49ers and go up 2 scores. I like the decision. Now, they're down 10-0, but if San Francisco can get a score here, they'll feel okay. They'll feel like maybe they weathered this storm a little bit. So here, Kyle Shanahan draws up a nice one. They put Christian McCaffrey in motion, and the 49ers fake the sweep to him, and this naturally draws the attention of the defense, including Devin Witherspoon. Then the 49ers send Juwan Jennings deep, and it looks like he's going to run right through Witherspoon, and Jake Tonjes cuts to the sideline. Well, that's the man Witherspoon is supposed to be guarding. Witherspoon is in danger of getting picked off here, so he sprints out that way. He beats Jake Tonjes to the spot. And right when he does that, Tonjes reverses direction back to the inside. It's a nice play that gains 11 yards, but the play is not over until the whistle blows. Watch Ernest Jones come over and lay the hit, strips the football, fumble, and it's recovered by the Seahawks. Wow. '49ers fans were aghast at this. If you're Jake Tonjes, you have got to hang on to this football. But if you're Ernest Jones, you've just made a huge play. San Francisco was down, but they felt like they were okay. Now the 49ers are reeling. And Seattle goes for the kill. Their run game is so good, here they use it as a fake. They fake the handoff to Ken Walker, and it works. San Francisco sends Malik Mustafa on the run blitz. But the Seahawks send 3 receivers downfield against just 1 safety back deep. Sam Darnold will roll out, and the Seahawks use Ken Walker to pick up Mustafa in pass protection. Well, here Mustafa just makes a great individual play. He goes right by Ken Walker and gets home to Sam Darnold. A major loss on the play. Now Seattle is facing 2nd and 21. San Francisco has the luxury now of just sitting back in his own defense, but we see Cooper Kupp has a lot of space to work with here. Renardo Green did not carry him through the zone. Instead, he gets mesmerized by this underneath route. You got to give up that underneath route on 2nd and forever. Instead, he does not, and Sam Darnold makes him pay for the mistake. Kyle Shanahan was so upset by this, he actually sits Renardo Green down for the rest of the series. Two plays later, Seattle would have Rashid Shaheed open for a big play down the field, but turn your attention to the pocket. Sam Darnold is under enormous pressure, so he has to climb the pocket first. So the ball comes out a little bit later than expected. I know it's hard to see, so I've highlighted it here, but now Shaheed has to wait for the ball. He has to slow up on his route a little bit, and with that ball just hanging in the air like that, it's a tantalizing target for Marquis Siegel. He goes for the interception and accidentally clobbers Rashid Shaheed in the process, and the flags come out for pass interference. The Seahawks go back to the run fake, and love him or hate him, Chris Collinsworth did a pretty good job of explaining this play on the telecast. Marquis Siegel has got to sink to the corner here. He does a little bit, but not nearly enough, and we're going to talk about why in just a minute. He never senses that Jackson Smith-Njigba is coming in behind him, and the reason is he has never taken his eyes off of Sam Darnold for this entire play, and we'll see that from the other angle as well. It's a great throw from Darnold too. Touchdown Seahawks, and they go up 17-0. And just watch Marquis Siegel here. He keeps his eyes on Sam Darnold for the entire play. Nice catch by JSN too to haul it in. Well, with a big lead in the game, the Seattle defense has the luxury of just hanging way back here, taking away any of those, fancy play designs of Kyle Shanahan or any of those magical plays by Brock Purdy. The 49ers were forced to take a lot of these underneath checkdowns to guys like Christian McCaffrey. And with that, we enter the second quarter. Yeah, all that action happened in the first quarter. 17 first quarter points for the Seattle Seahawks. Desperately needing to get some points on the board, the 49ers are facing what feels like a must-have third down this early in the ballgame. But it appears the defense has Brock Purdy dead to rights in the pocket. But once again, we see some of that magic Purdy is able to do with his legs. And quarterbacks are taught not to throw the ball back across the field. Here, Brock Purdy takes it to the extreme. Tonjes is wide open here, so this one time, the play works. But Seattle stays calm and they stick with the plan. They hang way back on defense, and San Francisco is just sort of reduced to these checkdowns. Eventually, San Francisco would face a 4th down and 3. And again, I like the decision to kick the field goal here. You know, there's a saying, your first points are the most difficult to get, especially on the road. So take those 3 points, get on the board, get something going on offense, and case in point, the 49ers would get the ball back. And I included this play just because I thought it was interesting. We see Jake Tonjes in motion here. Well, Brock Purdy would drift the other way. He would drift to his right, and as he does, the entire defense kind of goes with him, again, leaving Jake Tonjes uncovered. And twice in as many drives, Brock Purdy goes all the way back to the other side of the field to get Jake Tonjes the football. The 49ers would follow that up by faking the handoff to Brian Robinson Jr. And in order to sell the fake, they pull the guard, Dominic Pooney. Both are going to have to help out in pass protection. But I think there was a little bit of confusion here because both of them take the inside rusher, Julian Love, leaving the outside rusher, Drake Thomas, completely unblocked. Brock Purdy is in big trouble. He has to cut this football loose, but Ernest Jones is right there, and Purdy throws a beautiful ball just past Ernest Jones. What a completion that was for the first down. And in this game, Mike McDonald was great. He just stuck with the plan. Once again, the Seahawks hang back way deep. They're just not going to let Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan dice them up with monster plays on offense. The 49ers settle for the check down again. They're nickeling and diming their way down the field, but in the red zone, things tighten up. And once again, reluctantly, the 49ers are forced to settle for another field goal attempt, which they knock through, making the score 17-6. So the Seahawks get the ball back where they're facing a 3rd down, and this would end up being a key play in the game. Dee Winters makes the stop well short of the line to gain, and the Seahawks are going to have to punt back to the 49ers. But wait a second, how was Dee Winters able to make that stop? Let's go back to the snap. The center, Jalen Sundell, is supposed to block Dee Winters, preventing that tackle, but he is being held by Jordan Elliott. Winters is able to get to Zach Charbonnet, but we see the flag come in, correctly ruled as defensive holding by the officials. And yeah, Kyle Shanahan said this was the turning point in the game. You know, if the Seahawks had to punt here and the 49ers could get another score, they could have made a game of it, potentially. Instead, it's the Seahawks who retain possession of the football and would go on to pour it on. And at the end here, we see something you never want to see. We see several 49ers and Seahawks, kind of leaning over Zach Charbonnet. Clearly, he's in pain. It would turn out that Charbonnet would have a torn ACL and is going to potentially even miss some of next season. Didn't seem like an unusually, violent hit or a big hit. Just one of those things that happens in the game of football, and we all wish Charbonnet the best and look forward to seeing him next year. Well, the strength of your team is in the run, and you've just lost one of your running backs, and the 49ers are flying to the football in the run game. So what do you do here? Well, here Clint Kubiak comes up with a brilliant play call. They fake the handoff to Ken Walker. We see some of the 49ers are already penetrating, but that's all part of the plan. The offensive linemen for the Seahawks are heading to the other side of the field because Seattle is going to toss this ball to Shaheed on the reverse. Shaheed with a wall of blockers in front of him. Look at that patient running behind his blockers, and he gains 30 yards on the play. Well, they're in field goal range now. Not the easiest end of the stadium to kick in. It'd be about a 52-yarder from here, and it's a 3rd down and 10. So another opportunity for the 49ers to make a stand. But look at the release Jake Bobo gets off the line of scrimmage. And Darnold throws a dart. Sam Darnold knew exactly where to go with the football. It's a 1st down, and the drive continues. Ken Walker back in the game now, and to say the 49ers clogged up the middle would be an understatement, but this does leave them vulnerable to the cutback. Walker's got ahead of steam. Siegel can't bring him down, and he walks into the end zone. Touchdown Seahawks, and they go up 24-6. They're just pouring it on. Well, the 49ers take over with 28 seconds left at the end of the half. They are going to try to get some points here, but on this play, we would see another significant development. Just an incomplete pass here, but at the end, we see Christian McCaffrey kind of get tangled up with Ernest Jones. Again, not a violent hit, not a big hit, but McCaffrey comes out of this injured and would only play sporadically for the rest of the game. Brock Purdy uses his legs again, and here he makes the same mistake he made right before the end of the half in the Philadelphia game. Instead of going directly out of bounds, he tries to gain some more yardage first, and this would be very costly. He's tackled in bounds, the clock runs, and the 49ers are forced to call their final timeout of the half. Now they don't have a timeout for their field goal. They run another play. Eventually, it would be incomplete, but again, that takes a lot of time off the clock, so the 49ers are going to have to settle for a Hail Mary play at the end of the first half. Ooh, and that was close. That was close, and you just see the body language of the Niners. They're just kind of dejected. They need a break. They need something to go their way in this game, and it's just not happening for them. Well, there you have it. Seattle could not ask for a better start. This game had a championship atmosphere and intensity to it right from the get-go, and now the Seattle Seahawks are just 2 quarters away for playing for the NFC Championship. Wow. Well, folks, it takes a long time to make a video like this. If you could give me just 2 seconds of your time and hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, please subscribe. We do these videos every week. And if you really want to take a deep dive into this stuff, folks, we have a Patreon page where all of these videos can be seen 100% ad-free. There's a link in the description. I'd love to see you guys over there. All right, let's get right back to the game. It seems like a long time ago at this point, but remember, Seattle opened the game with that big kickoff return for a touchdown, so that means San Francisco gets the ball to start the second half. And right away, we see an interesting defensive decision from Seattle. In addition to their front four, the Seahawks also put Ernest Jones and Nick Emanwari up at the line of scrimmage. Both are going to drop back. Of course, the offensive line for the 49ers doesn't know that. They don't know who's coming and who's going. And both Trent Williams and Spencer Burford end up blocking DeMarcus Lawrence, leaving poor Jake Tonjes all on his own to pick up Uchenna Nwosu. Nwosu instantly sheds the block, and once again it looks like the Seahawks have Brock Purdy dead to rights, and once again Brock Purdy just makes magic happen with his legs, and at the last second spots Jawan Jennings coming open. I saw a lot of Seahawks fans online say, wow, this must have been what it was like for 49er fans to watch Russell Wilson run around and make a bunch of plays on them back in the day. Yeah, that's a great perspective. Well, in any event, the 49ers are moving the ball, but again, they're faced with a big fourth down situation. And the 49ers call a play that we've looked at time and time again. It's been run, dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of times in the NFL. A very simple pick play to try to get somebody open for a short yardage gain. But Demarcus Robinson and Ricky Pearsall really botch this play, running into each other. Brock Purdy has nowhere to go with this football, and he's crushed. He's crushed by the big cat, Leonard Williams. Let's go back to the snap. Now, to be honest, even if Robinson and Purcell had executed that play, I don't know if Brock Purdy would have gotten this ball off on time. Here's Leonard Williams. Watch as he absolutely smokes Dominic Pooney. The excellent ensuing field position would allow Seattle to tack on another field goal, and the Seahawks extend their lead, going up 27-6. The 49ers would get the ball back, but would face more difficulties as Mike McDonald sticks with the plan. They keep everyone back deep, and to me, this play is part great play by the Seattle Seahawks and part poor play by the San Francisco 49ers. Brock is really examining the deep part of the field. He really wants to make something happen quickly, but there's just nothing down there. To me, he needs to come off of this much quicker and get the ball to the check down, Luke Farrell, right now while he's open. Instead, he holds on to the ball. Now he has to come to Farrell late. And again, we're not talking about George Kittle or even Jake Tonjes here. It's the third tight end, Luke Farrell, who makes a rather poor effort on this play, and Ernest Jones makes a great effort on this play, and the pass is intercepted, and the Seahawks take over with great field position again. And that's terrible. If you're Luke Farrell, that's absolutely terrible. Well, with Seattle threatening to turn this into a blowout, they are facing a 2nd down and 13. And notice the stem of the route of Cooper Kupp. It looks like he's going deep. Upton Stout, you can see he gets all the way completely turned around in a sprint headed the other direction, allowing Cooper Kupp to head to the sideline. And Sam Darnold gets him the football. And no need to do anything fancy here. The Seahawks just bring in a couple of extra tight ends and run power to that side with Ken Walker. $34-6 now as Seattle can feel it. They are crushing the 49ers and will be playing for the NFC Championship. Brock Purdy and the 49ers valiantly fight on. And when I saw this play live, I thought for sure he had stepped out of bounds. But when we take a close look, he throws the football, foot comes down, and yeah, that was just a great play by Brock Purdy. Unfortunately, the pass falls incomplete. That was 4th down, and the Seahawks take over again. And it was clear at this point in the game the 49er defense was getting a little bit tired. San Francisco had to play 3 games in 13 days, and it really just illustrates how important that Week 18 game was down in San Francisco. Seattle wins that game, wins the number 1 seed. They have the rest advantage in this game because they earned it. And here we see a play. We have seen this on this channel before, but it is a little unusual. Watch the center here. He's going to snap this football, and then they're going to pull the center. He's going to act as the lead blocker on the play for Kenneth Walker. And that's the block. That's the block that gets Ken Walker into the end zone. Touchdown Seahawks, and there it is. There's the 41 points. San Francisco put up 41 against Seattle a few years ago. The Seahawks returned the favor. Brock Purdy would continue to fight on, but ultimately, of course, it would be too little too late. And this really would be the final nail in the coffin. DeMarcus Lawrence, what a year he is having. Sack, fumble, and the Seahawks recover. Nicky Manwari right there. And that would pretty much do it for this game. Here he is working against Colton McKivitz. Looks like the clock winds back 10 years for DeMarcus Lawrence this season. Just having a great year. And that would wrap it up. Wow, what an incredible game that was. The Seattle Seahawks completely shut down what was a very good San Francisco offense. 2 games in a row. They totally overwhelmed the San Francisco 49ers, and it all started with that kickoff return for the touchdown that immediately put San Francisco in a hole. And if you think about how we started this video, we opened up talking about that playoff loss a couple of years ago to the 49ers down in Santa Clara. Well, a couple of things happened the following season, right? That was in 2022. In 2023, the Seattle Seahawks narrowly missed the playoffs, and the team moved on from Pete Carroll. At the same time, the 49ers and Brock Purdy were having a great season. They won a ton of games that year. That offense was red hot until they played the Baltimore Ravens in a late season contest, and Brock Purdy really had a hard time in that game. So the Seahawks move on from Pete Carroll, and they bring in the defensive coordinator from that game, Mike Macdonald, from the Ravens to the Seattle Seahawks. And in just 2 years, John Schneider completely rebuilt the Seattle defense. That in and of itself is a story I don't think is getting talked about enough. In just 2 seasons, the Seahawks went from a team that was missing the playoffs to totally and completely dominant, an absolute juggernaut that could very well go on to win the Super Bowl. That is an incredible story. And we have to talk about that special teams unit. The Seahawks had the number 1 unit throughout the season, and it really showed in this game. You know, the number 2 unit was San Francisco, but Seattle looked completely dominant. The gap between number 1 and number 2 looked huge in this game. Opening that game with the kick return for the touchdown was massive, like we talked about. Offensively, Sam Darnold didn't have to do a whole lot. He only threw for 124 yards, but he took care of the football. Seattle was able to lean on their running game. Ken Walker, 116 yards, but more importantly, 6.1 yards per carry. He just could not be stopped. 3 touchdowns on the ground. Of course, Zach Charbonnet finishes with a torn ACL. We wish him the best and look forward to seeing him again next season. Well, Sam Darnold becomes only the 2nd quarterback ever to win 14 games in back-to-back seasons. An absolutely unbelievable year for him. 2 years in a row, he's winning big games down the stretch, and the Seattle Seahawks offensively look like they are going to be just fine. They've got that great defense and an amazing special teams. It's who's going to stop them? You tell me, who's going to stop the Seattle Seahawks this season? Well, folks, if you have taken the time to sign up for the Patreon page, I can't thank you enough. Your support allows me to take the time to do these videos right, to give you the quality that you deserve. You humble me and you honor me from the bottom of my heart. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. And look, I know there's 49er fans watching this video wanting to know what went wrong, but the truth is this was a tremendous season for the 49ers. With the injuries they had, they went above and beyond what anybody expected them to do. Their offense caught fire at the end of the year. They were fun and exciting to watch. They won a game in the playoffs. This was a great year for the 49ers. And this game wasn't about what was wrong with San Francisco. It's about what was right for the Seattle Seahawks. You know, the San Francisco 49ers were never equipped to take this thing all the way with the injuries they had. But the Seattle Seahawks are. You know, the 49ers can really, I think, seriously look forward to next season and another fun year with a fully healthy roster. But this is Seattle's time now. You don't necessarily have to like it, but I think as true football fans, and that's why we're all here watching, right, is because we're true fans of the game, we can acknowledge that. All right, well, Seattle, you know, really has come on strong. Like, they've just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger as this season has progressed. And late in the year, they won 2 huge games in the regular season. They beat the Rams on Thursday Night Football in Seattle, and then they beat the San Francisco 49ers in the last game of the season. Both of those games helped them lock up the NFC West and the number 1 seed. Meeting the road to the Super Bowl goes through Seattle. So Los Angeles, now having beaten the Bears, will have to go to Lumen Field in what is going to be, I'm sure, an equally insane atmosphere. Good luck to the Rams. This is going to be an amazing game. Probably the team that gave the Seattle Seahawks the most trouble during the season was the Rams, but Seattle got the better of them. If you remember back to the breakdown we did on that game, it was just a slight inaccuracy, with the extra point that Sean McVay made that left the door open just a crack for the Seattle Seahawks, and that's all Seattle needed to get back into that game and end up winning it in overtime. So the third matchup is going to be absolutely insane, but it is importantly in Seattle. The Seahawks will probably have the advantage of that game, and then who knows? May the best team win, and then it will be on to the Super Bowl. I don't know what's going to happen in that game, but we're going to be here to break down the film, and I will see you guys then.